welcome to the Upshot, Ultra-World Disc Golf podcast, all about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the publisher, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, as always, is Josh Mansfield, and we are getting ready for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Match Play Championships. Now, I'm sure there's been some kind of match play tournament in the past at some point, but at least in my memory, this is the first time we're really going to watch the top players play legitimate match play tournament with a bracket and the whole deal. Now, there's still some stuff we don't know. We don't know what the payouts are going to be. We do know there's going to be live coverage on Disc Golf Network. We now have a layout. It's a 12-hole course, and we'll talk a little bit more about length and the kind of style in a second. And, of course, we know the matchups. So this is going to be fun. It's a totally different way of talking about a tournament, as you're not just thinking about, okay, who are the best players, who's going to fit well on this course, but specifically, how do these folks match up head-to-head? What's their path through the bracket? It's a little, September madness going on right now. So, Josh, let's dive in here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about this brand new designed course that was built by the Steve Broad, Steve Brinster, and Simon Lizotte, 12-hole course at the Steel Club in Hellertown, Pennsylvania.
So if you go to UDisc, you can find the layouts, both for the men and the women. Men is a par 42 at 7,439 feet, so 7,500 feet, which feels about right. I mean, for where courses have been, considering this is about 60% of a real course. So for length of a golf course, that feels accurate. Over on the women's side, you've got 6,600 feet at a par 44, which also both feel pretty appropriate, I think. Golf greens, ROB, bunkers are hazards, and it says that all stakes are the OB line. Now, you can't see where those stakes are on UDisc, so we don't know how punishing the OB is going to be, if we're talking USDGC level or if we're talking Fox Run Meadows level. I mean, two very different styles that could be here. Knowing Simon Lizotte, I'm inclined to think that the OB is going to be more fair and generous, because we know how Simon hates artificial OB. So but you never know with the team of designers. It looks like a nice mix between distance and woods golf. There are 3 or 4 holes that look from UDisc in the overhead satellite view very, very wooded, and a couple holes that are shorter but have greens that look just treacherous because you have golf greens and OB sand or hazard sand traps just right next to the green. So it looks like it's designed in 12 holes to really try and challenge as much as possible. I do wonder, though, in terms of the distance holes, depending on the generosity of the OB, it really looks like there are some holes, like a 900-foot par 4, for example, that Eagle can just lay down a huge roller and have an easy pitch up, which would give someone with real long arms a huge advantage, I think, on some of those holes. So
let me ask you this. Where are the long holes? Can you just kind of go through? The reason I ask is, let's say the last 3 holes are all ultra long. You got to get there in order to have that advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a player gets up by a certain number of holes and it's not possible for the other player to catch up, the round ends and then that person moves on. So I'm kind of curious about the overall structure here. Like, where's the par 3s, 4s, and 5s? Where are the longest holes relative to par in the layout?
So hole 1 is a par 4, 938-foot hole. It is pretty long. This is one that has a sand trap right in front of the green, which means if you're still 450 feet out, you can maybe get a circle 2 look from the looks of it, but doesn't look like you're going to be going for the green. I think this is one that, because of the way the green is set up, long throwers are going to be favored. And this is looking at the MPO layout. We'll move over to FPO in just a second. Hole 2 is wooded and technical. Hole 3 is a 686-foot par 3.
Oh my God. It must be downhill. It has to be downhill, right?
I'd hope so. There's also trees in the way halfway through and a sand bunker right behind those trees.
I hope the longest par 3 on tour? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I don't know. It's crazy long. Hole 4 is a 460 foot par 3. That one looks fine. A little bit technical. Hole 5 is a par 4, 510 feet through the woods. So real technical. 6 is through the woods, shorter par 3.
My feeling so far is that this is going to be ultra hard.
It looks like it.
And it seems like it's going to favor big arms, given what we are hearing so far.
Hole 6, 7, 8 are kind of like half woods, half open, okay in length. Hole 9 is a 567 foot par 3.
Oh my God.
With an OB green, a golf green in front of the basket.
I don't understand. Like, okay, continue.
Anyway, hole 10 is a 507 foot par 3. And it's noteworthy that those holes don't go in the same direction. So, I mean, this theory that they're downhill is maybe true.
It's falling apart.
But I'm not sure.
That doesn't make sense. Okay.
Hole 11 and 12. Okay, hole 11 is back in the woods a little bit. And hole 12 is a 695 foot par 3. And it's fairly in the open and runs the opposite direction to the 505 foot par 3 that is a couple holes before.
Okay.
So,
I mean, assuming this is accurate, which is what I have not seen a caddy book. I
haven't found a caddy book. We've looked.
Released. We looked around a bunch. This is insane. Like, I'm not surprised that Simon, built a crazy hard long course, but like, wow. Some of these hole lengths are crazy. What are we hearing on? Can we get a little FPO breakdown here?
Yeah, FPO has a couple of those holes, but it feels in a lot of ways a little bit more gettable. So hole 1 is a 419 foot par 3. And from the looks of it, it looks like you can get a pretty accessible circle 2 look, especially for some of the long throwers. Hole 2 is a 672 foot par 5 through the woods. So, it's real short when it comes to a par 5, but I think something that'll be interesting to see. Hole 3 is a 674 foot par 4. So it looks like the exact same layout as the men's side on hole 3, but they just added an extra stroke to par. Hole 4 is a 452 foot par 3.
These are long holes. These are really long holes for FPO.
The thing about the FPO is it looks like they've given a little bit more generous pars on the woods. Hole 5 is a par 4 with 517 feet. I obviously don't know.
That's short.
Right, it is. But we don't know how wooded we're talking here. We're looking at the satellite view. So no clue what the lines look like. Hole 6 is a par 3 at 375. Hole 7 out in the open, par 4, 745 feet. Hole 8 is a 414 foot par 3 with a dangerous green right next, like OB and hazard right next to the green. So that's pretty long, I would say, for that kind of danger. Hole 9, 555 foot par 3 with an OB golf green directly in front of the basket.
I mean, that has to be downhill. It has to be, right?
I hope so.
Par doesn't make sense. Continue.
Here's what I don't understand. The next hole doesn't look nearly as treacherous. It's 501 feet, so 50 feet less, and it's a par 4. So
maybe it's uphill.
I hope you're right. Maybe 9 really is just downhill.
I would think so. I mean, it's not reasonable to make a par 3 that's over 500 feet for FPO, unless it's downhill. That's the only reasonable explanation for making a par 3.
I think so.
Literally would not be reachable otherwise for anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Par 4, a hole 11, par 4, 572 feet with some woods. And then hole 12 is a 727 foot par 4. Okay. So it feels like
you got to be a bomber out here. I mean, that's my big takeaway from what you just went through. I think the long arms are going to have a huge advantage.
I think so. And now I'm curious to know, like we talked a little bit about, where the OB, what does the OB look like, and how treacherous are the lines through the woods?
Sure. I think we have to kind of just make our picks with incomplete information. Speaking of picks, we're doing a contest. So the Pro Tour has put out links to a bracket contest. You can fill out a bracket, and I don't know if they have some kind of prize if you win or whatnot, but you can fill out a bracket. So what we want you to do is fill out your bracket and then take a screenshot and send it to us, upshot@ultiworld.com. And we're going to do a bracket contest here with Upshot listeners. If you win, we're going to shout you out on the show. And if you get a perfect bracket, you're going to win a prize of some kind. And for subscribers, if you're an Ultiworld Disc Golf subscriber, if you have the best bracket amongst subscribers, you're going to win a 3-disc Ultiworld stamped Discmania package. You get to choose your discs. I can tell you what I've got available. Okay. We've got Origins, Soft Links, Hard Tactics, Soft Tactics, and Essences. And you get to choose any 3 from that set of discs. These will be the first Ultiworld stamped discs in the wild. The first. Okay, so this is a pretty nice situation. And all you got to do is be a subscriber with your bracket. You can put your bracket in the subscriber-only Discord if you want. You can email us, upshot@ultiworld.com. Everybody gets to play in the bigger contest, get the shout out and the possibility, if you have a perfect bracket, which would be incredible, of winning a prize. And subscribers, the best subscriber bracket will win a 3-disc Ultiworld stamped pack. So, scoring, I don't know how the Pro Tour is doing scoring, but we're going to do scoring like this: 1 point for round 1, 2 points for round 2, 3 points for round 3, etc. So, simple. And Josh and I are filling out brackets, and we'll put them in the Discord, and we'll put them in the website article for the podcast as well, so you can take a look at our picks.
So, Charlie, for our picks this week, then, how many points are we going to say that this is worth for our overall game? 10 points to the winner?
I think just 10 points to the overall winner between the 2 brackets. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Okay.
It's a nice little bonus.
There we go. So between the 2 of us, whoever has the best combined brackets, points-wise, that's how we're going to decide our points for this week.
10 is a big bonus, but you know what? Let's go with it. It's fun.
Look, 10 is a big bonus if you win. I have a real rough... I've got to get real good by the end of the season if you get the 10 points. If I get the 10 points, then things just become interesting again.
All right. Well, we're going to take a look at our over-under and picks from last week in a little bit. But first, let's dig into these matchups. Josh and I have pulled the stats, and we've pulled out what we think are the most relevant statistics to evaluating players at a glance. Now, this doesn't take into account their, match for this course, which of course we're sort of a little bit in the dark about still. But why don't we start an FPO? Paige Pierce, Deanne Carey is your 1-8 matchup, and let's take a look. So the stats that we're really looking at are Circle 1 in regulation, Circle 2 in regulation, which are how often are you getting a look at birdie, and then Circle 1X and Circle 2 putting. And then OB rate, which kind of adjusts for players' risk-taking behavior. So let's take a look at this matchup. Paige Pierce, by far the stronger player. I mean, there's no surprise. She gets into Circle 1 in regulation 17% more of the time than Deanne Carey. Well, that's actually, I'd have to adjust by more like 50% more of the time. Compared to between the 2 of them. Pierce 39%, Carey 22%. Similar story in Circle 2 in regulation. As putters, they're both good putters. Pierce is a bit better across the board, but Pierce does go out of bounds more often. 11.3% OB rate to Carey's 9.9%. Josh, your thoughts on this matchup? And we got to keep it snappy here because we got to get we got to get through a lot.
Yeah, I think Paige's OB rate can cause her problems in the future, not on this course with Deanne Carey's distance.
Agreed.
Paige can tone it back 80% to 80% and still outdrive Deanne Carey by 100 feet. Maybe not 100 feet, but enough that it's going to make a big difference. I don't think Deanne Carey can catch the distance disadvantage.
Not with the whole lengths that we were just talking about. I think that's right. Pierce can have a big advantage overall.
True.
All right, go ahead and take us through match 2.
Yeah, next we get to Hokum and Weiss. This is actually a flip story where you've got Weiss, who has better percentages by a couple points. I mean, 4 and 5% in Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation, 27 versus 31, 47 versus 52. But flip that on putting. Hokum actually has the advantage here. It's 72% to Weiss's 58%, 12% Circle 2 to Weiss's 8%. So, Charlie, we just talked about distance being the advantage. Do you think Weiss has the advantage despite having the worst putter?
Oh, boy. I mean, here's the thing. Match play, putting is a big deal. Bigger than in stroke play, I think. Because there's times when you need to run it. And if you can hit more of your long distance putts, like you give yourself a chance in a way that players who can't hit from distance can do for themselves. So while I do think that, Weiss can outdrive Hokum, I don't know if that's going to be enough, given that Weiss is a little bit up and down, in terms of consistency. I'm going to stick with Sarah Hokum here. I think that the superior putting stats are going to come through in her favor. You just, if you miss a couple short Circle 1X putts, you're going to get burned.
I think this one has real upset potential, though.
No question. Who's your pick?
I think in my bracket, I'll probably take Weiss, honestly.
Okay.
Because I think 12 holes. If Hokum misses 1 or 2 putts as well, it's not like it's shortened, right?
Yeah.
So Hokum would have to be near perfect if Weiss does well. If Weiss also falls apart, then it's. I think that Weiss's backhand forehand combo is going to be enough to do the work.
That's a good point.
So.
All right, next matchup: Missy Gannon versus Kona Panis. An even more polarized story here with Panis, the far superior player on getting to the green in regulation, and Gannon, the far superior putter. Panis just the worst putter in the field, easily, 53% Circle 1X, and just 4% Circle 2 putting. That's going to be a real challenge, but she's one of the better distance throwers in this field. So does that outweigh the putting? Equal OB rate. This feels like a total coin flip to me. I think Gannon's probably been playing a little bit better on average as of late, but Panis has picked it back up after kind of like a rough patch in the middle of the season. What's your take?
I think that the dangerous greens are going to favor Gannon's style of play. That is precision, plays her game comfortably, and even though they have equal levels of OB rate, I worry about Panis's. I just think Gannon is one of the most precise and methodical players on tour, and I think that's going to advantage her in greens that are really difficult. And that putting disparity is huge. Like that, that easily translates to 2 or 3 strokes if they putt according to averages. So I take Gannon in this matchup.
I think I take Panis for this round 1. I think the distance advantage is going to weigh out here, but I'm on the fence a little bit. I may make a game time decision.
We both just flipped our explanations about why we're picking each player.
Yeah, but I feel like Weiss's distance advantage is not that big over Hokum, where I think Panis is bigger over Gannon.
Fair.
Like Weiss and Hokum have very similar Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation rates, and
sure.
Panis has a 10-point advantage in Circle 1 in regulation. That's a pretty big deal.
That's true. It's true. She also has a 24-point disadvantage in Circle 1X.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's true.
This is, in my opinion, the round 1 matchup.
For sure.
Of both brackets.
I agree.
Katrina Allen, Haley King. Like, this is the round 1 that I am watching without a doubt. I don't care what else happens. This is the one I'm watching. I think it's 2 just dominant players that I am sad to see having to go head-to-head in round 1. This is a semifinals, if not a finals matchup, in my opinion. But that being said, Katrina Allen has the distance. Haley King is a great thrower, but Katrina Allen, 38% and 62% Circle 1 regulation, Circle 2 in regulation. King about 5%, 5 and 6 percentage points respectively behind. That's not terrible. King, we do know that King can throw far. In terms of putting, Allen is 10% behind at 63 versus 73% in Circle 1X, though only separated by 2 points in Circle 2X putting, 16 and 18% for King in favor. Here's where I think is going to be the question mark and the big storyline. 6.8% OB for Katrina Allen, the best of the FPO field. 11.8% for King, the worst in the FPO field. Charlie, how much do you think this OB rate is going to play into account when we come match play time?
I think it's going to come into play. I mean, again, so much depends on what the course layout looks like, but I think that we've seen King struggle. Now, here's the thing. Here is the thing. Let's remember this. I was about to say something and it would be dumb to say it. We've seen King struggle with double bogeys. That's true. Guess what? Double bogey doesn't really mean that much in match play. You go OB, okay, you lose the hole. That next hole. Doesn't matter how badly you lose the hole. You can get crushed. It doesn't matter. 1 point. The question is, can King keep up the birdies and keep up the pressure and win her share of holes, even when she does have those 1 or 2 blow-up holes that she's probably going to have? It hurts a lot less to blow up when it's just lose the point instead of lose 3 strokes to your competition. So my feeling is that King has probably played, I don't know, like both of these players have had really good stretches this season. I don't know how you find a lot of oxygen between these two. I think that King's like more volatile play actually fits a little bit better for match play. The putting edge, I feel like wants to have me pick King here.
I also pick King. I think when it comes down to the final hole, and I have to ask myself, like, do I pick King or Allen to snag this? Like, I probably pick King. I think, and granted, I just talked about
King's putter.
I just
was
discounted
Fuego at GMC, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
That matters. Hitting those big putts saves you points, earns you points. If you can hit from 50 feet with regularity, and Katrina Allen's a great Circle 2 putter. Haley King's been a little bit better this season, but not by much. But I think that we've seen King really hitting those putts lately. She's got to be playing with a lot of confidence, of course, coming off the win. It's a great matchup. It's going to be exciting to watch, but I think I take King.
I think I agree. Also, no one's allowed to hold us to this when it comes to our bracket. We get to change whatever we want.
That's correct. You don't think I'm going to give away all the good, extra research I'm doing, do you? No, come on. Let's move over to MPO. We got 8 matches. Let's get cracking. First up, Eagle McMahon versus Colton Montgomery. It's definitely feels like a little bit of a mismatch. Eagle McMahon, heavy advantages in Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation. Obviously, with the course distances, what we are seeing, Eagle's going to have a monstrous distance advantage. Putting, Eagle's also a better putter. A little bit better in C1X, a lot of it better in Circle 2. 33% Circle 2 putter this season. That is just nuts. There's one player better than him in the field. Can you guess who it is in Circle 2 putting?
Is it Ricky?
It's a good guess. He's tied at 33. The one player better is Adam Hammis at 34%.
Okay, that makes sense.
Effectively, they're just the 3 best putters on tour, I think. Anyway, OB rate, 8.6% for McMahon, 10% for Colton. Essentially, McMahon leads in every category. Hard to see how Colton could win this one.
Yeah, this feels like a real 16 seed taking a dub in March Madness. You put it in your second bracket that you do at work because then you have the upper hand, but you don't actually do it for the one you think you could win $1 million on, or however much that is. Yeah, I'd be surprised to see a big Colton Montgomery number of picks in this. This is a bracket of challenge.
Next matchup,
Hamilton Aderhold. I think this one's pretty good.
Very interesting. I think.
I agree. I'm interested to watch this one. Equal in Circle 1 regulation. Circle 2 in regulation, Aderhold has a slight advantage, but in terms of putting...
by the way.
I agree to an extent. I think if you look at the I mean, when you look at the golf courses from earlier in the season, I imagine Aderhold just built up such a huge percentage in terms of his Circle 2 in regulation. Hamas is the better putter, though. 5% better in Circle 1X and 8% better in Circle 2. Hamas also goes OB just over a percentage less than Aderhold. I think this matchup can be interesting. I think it's got definite upset potential, but I still am picking Hamas.
I feel the same way. I think I lean to the putting here, and I feel like the Hamas numbers sort of understate his skill a little bit because he's been volatile. He's had some tournaments where he hasn't played very well, but he's also won Elite Series events. So I think when it comes down head to head, I don't know. I feel like Ezra Aderhold is a very well equipped player to compete in this format. Definite upset potential. Agree with that. I probably take Hamas. Kyle Klein versus Chris Dickerson. Chris Dickerson, it's that time of year. He's heating up.
Klein is the higher ranked player in standings. Yes. For clarification.
Yes. Dickerson has, of course, played, many fewer events. Yes. Shout out to Scott, who pulled out this stat. Chris Dickerson's winning score at GMC was, through 4 rounds, was equal to Greg Barsby's winning score at Worlds in 2018 on the same 2 courses over 5 rounds. How about that? Chris Dickerson averaging 1079 rated golf. I would not want to be facing him right now. Kyle Klein's a great player. The numbers are basically identical. Dickerson with slight advantages in the tee to green, but essentially equivalent putters. Dickerson goes OB a little bit less, but look, throw it all out the window. Dickerson is red hot. It's that time of year, September, October. I think Klein probably has the distance advantage here by a little bit, just raw power, but Dickerson's got plenty to compete. I think he's going to win it here.
I'm probably going to take Kyle. And I'm not locked in on that because I want to sit back and kind of think about it in terms of the way he does like this match play. Because I think in stroke play, I think you're right. But in match play, the question is, can Chris Dickerson just absolutely suffocate Kyle on every single hole? Or can Kyle make sure to snag a couple holes that, maybe suit him?
Klein is going to win some holes.
His game. Yeah, I agree. And so, the question is, how suffocating can Chris be? And I think Kyle is just too good to get completely... I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. And I think if Kyle can keep it close late, I think he can put some pressure on Dickerson.
Next up.
Jones and Girthy. It's interesting because when you think of Garrett Girthy, you're like, oh, this is a distance, this is the distance guy. When you look at stats, though, in terms of Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation, and I'm not discrediting his distance, mind you, Jones is actually better still in Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation. 1% in Circle 1, 4% in Circle 2, and he is the far superior putter. 7 points on Circle 1X and 18 points in Circle 2. Garrett Girthy at 12% is the only one outside of the 20% mark in Circle 2 putting. Kevin Jones up in the 30% puts him in what is a pretty elite tier.
Elite tier.
Yeah, both go OB a disastrous amount of times. But if they both do it, then I guess it equals out. I am hard pressed to see how you don't take Jones on this one.
It just depends on what the layouts look like. I mean, if there's some holes where Girthy can just open up, Jones throws far, but nobody throws far like Double G. No. Is it enough to overcome the gigantic disadvantage in Circle 2 putting? Unfortunately, I don't think so. Next up, Calvin Heimberg taking on Chris Clemens. Chris Clemens, a really good putter. A sneaky good putter, if you will. Does not go OB much at all. 5.6%. That's the best in the field here. However, he's not a far thrower. He is just not a far thrower. 36% Circle 1 in regulation, the lowest in the field. 58% Circle 2 in regulation, the lowest in the field. And he's going up against Calvin Heimberg, who has some of the best numbers in the field in those categories. I just don't see how on a course with a lot of distance built by Simon Lizotte that Chris Clemens is going to be able to beat Calvin Heimberg. I'm sorry. I just don't see how it's possible. I think this is one of the biggest mismatches just because of the course style that I think we're going to see.
I think Clemens against a lot of other players, like Clemens Conrad, I think you have an interesting discussion that you need to have. Because, Conrad still throws far, but against the Calvin Chris matchup, like you said, it's a distance disparity, and I take Heimberg as well.
Next up.
LeCastro Rathbun. This is one I'm really interested to see because I think LeCastro can really benefit from match play style. If you look at stats, they are very close to each other. Identical in Circle 1 in regulation, 1% separated by Circle 2 in regulation, separated by 1 percentage point in OB rate. The difference a little bit in the putting. LeCastro is a little bit worse in Circle 1, at 74 versus Rathbun 77, but makes up for it at 25% in Circle 2 versus Rathbun's 21% in Circle 2. In two players who are next to identical statistically, I ask myself, does LeCastro have the mental nerve to take it down? Or, and is that Circle 2 putting going to be enough of an advantage? I think so. I probably am going to take LeCastro, but I think Rathbun is upset city in terms of matchups for this part of the bracket.
This is a pick'em. This is a true pick'em. You don't, if Vegas was setting lines on these matchups, I think there's not a lot of oxygen separating these two. I am leaning towards Rathbun. I just feel like we've seen LeCastro really struggle with putting when the pressure is on. Stand over a 25-footer for 45 seconds and then miss it. I mean, I've literally seen it with my own eyes many times. This is like the definition of pressure putting. He's a gamer. He's a competitor. I think that suits him well, but I don't really feel like Gavin Rathbun isn't. I'm probably going to take Rathbun here.
Definitely interesting pick.
Next up, Ricky Wysocki versus Emerson Keith. Well, anybody going up against Ricky is going to feel like they're at a disadvantage, except maybe Eagle McMahon. Certainly, Emerson Keith giving up percentage points in every category except OB rate, where he has a slight advantage. No, I take that back. No. Ricky Wysocki, 7%. Emerson Keith, 7.8%. So Ricky leading in every category here, fairly substantially. And, Emerson Keith is always interesting, right? Mr. World's Whisperer sometimes just seems to get hot at the right time. Can he get hot at the right time? I'm not going to bet on it.
This feels like another one that, like, the closest stat between the two is Circle 2 putting, and it's 8 percentage points away. Ricky would have to be really off to lose this matchup.
What I love about match play is that can happen.
It can.
Player has an off round, they lose. And I love that. But I don't think you want to pick Emerson Keith here unless you're, I don't know, you have some cosmic connection with him or something. Final one. Go ahead, Josh.
Conrad versus Joel Freeman. Joel Freeman is better off the tee. In Circle 1 in regulation, beating out Conrad 42% versus Conrad's 39%. He's also the better Circle 2 putter at 25% versus Conrad's 21%. That's actually surprisingly low to me. I thought Conrad was a better Circle 2 putter. I don't know if it's just this season. I'd have to go back and look. But I guess I just expected Conrad's Circle 2 putting to be higher. Conrad is the better Circle 1 putter, though, 85% to 78%. Joel Freeman has played well over the past couple tournaments. I don't know. I don't remember about GMC, but a few before that, he's had a couple top 10 finishes. And this matchup, I feel like, is probably after Klein and Dickerson. I think I don't know. Castro and Rathbun. These are some good matchups.
Yeah, this is a great one. It's sneaky interesting. I think a lot of people are going to pick James Conrad by, sort of name recognition and the world champ and all that. But I actually think, as of late, who's been the better player? I mean, Joel Freeman's been playing really well. I think it's not obvious. Like looking at the stats, it feels like James Conrad is the better sort of like clutch player. And maybe that's enough to pick him here.
It's fair. I think I'm probably going to pick Freeman.
I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. All
right.
We're not going to try to go through all of our hypotheticals for, second and third round matchups or whatever. I think what we should do here, Josh, is who do you think is going to make the final and who do you think is going to win?
Okay. And then I have a question for you after that.
Okay.
FPO finals. I am going to King Pierce with King taking it down. I
think Pierce's side of the bracket feels like really smooth sailing. Like Panis, Allen, and King are all on the other side of the bracket. And I think that's like...
And Gannon.
Yeah, and that like Pierce gets Carey, Hokum, and Weiss on her side of the bracket. It just... Given the course distances, it just feels like Pierce gets to dodge the biggest arms until potential final. So I really think Pierce is going to make the final. Do I see an upset happening in round 2 over like a Haley King type? Maybe. I'm going to take Pierce versus Panis and Pierce winning.
All right.
Do I really think that the putting is going to... I don't know.
Because what's hard about that
I
pick...
disagree. I'm going to take Pierce versus King with Pierce winning. I just don't think that the putting... you have to be able to hit some big putts to win match play. And I just don't think that Kona Panis has proven that she can hit circle 2 putts. I mean, 4%. It's just not good enough.
She could very well win her matchup because of her distance advantage. Yeah. But she goes to a distance disadvantage in round 2.
Right.
And a putting disadvantage, even more.
A major putting disadvantage. That's right.
Yeah. So,
that's right. But I'm also preparing myself for craziness. I think that this could be way crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, how about an MPO?
An MPO, I'm going to take... I said I think I'm going to pick Kyle Klein, but the more I look at this bracket, the more I feel like that's a bad idea. I think I'm going to take Dickerson Wysocki in the finals.
Wow.
I'm hard flipping on Kyle Klein. Yeah, not only am I not picking him,
just bailed hard on him.
I'm sending Dickerson all the way to the finals. I think Dickerson, Wysocki. I am going to give it to Wysocki though. You're right. Like Dickerson shows up at this time of year, but when it comes to someone who is just dead clutch, I don't know if I want anybody else. Like, if I ask myself, I've got match play and I'm depending on somebody to like save my life by winning this tournament, I'd pick Wysocki. I would. And so that's good enough for my bracket.
There's a gun to my head and I have to pick the winner. I mean, I think that, obviously taking Eagle or Ricky to win is the most likely outcome of all the possible universes that we go through for this tournament. I just think that there's like enough randomness through these, 4 rounds that it feels like we're going to see some surprises. I'm going to take Hammes versus Heimberg in the final.
Okay.
I mean, that maybe sounds a little crazy, but like we're looking at 2 really good putters. Now the distance thing, it's hard to know, but I feel like Calvin Heimberg just is going to thrive in this format, and Adam Hammes can just catch fire. I mean, Dickerson is such a good pick. Like, I really like that. When I actually sit down and I go through the whole thing, like, am I going to want to take Dickerson? Maybe I will, but who has the advantage on a brand new course where people are a little unfamiliar? Is it the people with the arms or is it the people with the putting? Ultimately, I think it's the people with the putting. So I'm going to take 2 very good putters. You could argue that you should just pick McMahon and Wysocki then if you're going to pick good putters. But I don't know. I just think there's going to be some wildness, so I'm picking wildness to happen. Hammes versus Heimberg with Heimberg winning.
I'll pick some wildness too, but not for my finals. All right, Charlie, here's my question for you. Who is your Cinderella in this bracket? Either bracket, I don't care. Like, who's going? It could make. I think this person, depending on who it is, could make. And Dickerson does not count as a Cinderella. I don't care if he's the lower seed; it doesn't count. You don't get to pick Dickerson. I think depending on your player, it could even be a semifinals appearance.
I think for me, it's fairly clear. I think it's Ezra Aderhold.
Okay.
The talent ceiling is very high. And so I think that he could just catch fire and win a couple rounds and make semis for sure.
Interesting. I think I probably take Joel Freeman
I thought
as
about
my
him
Cinderella.
Too. Mm-hmm.
And I think semifinals is enough to be a Cinderella story, because in order to make semis, he's got to beat Wysocki.
Probably.
Right, probably. Sorry, Everson. If you listen to the show,
him out.
I counted you out a little early. Anyway, I picked Ricky to take it down, so you know where that's going. Anyway, I mean, in order to make it there, I feel like Joel Freeman probably is going to have to beat Ricky in the round 2, and at that point, he's already beat the world champion of this year and the 2-time world champion in Ricky Wysocki in head-to-head matchup, and that's pretty spectacular.
I'm very much looking forward to this. Like,
I am too.
Being able to sit here and talk about it, like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. And we're going to see some surprises. We're going to see some people throw it in from 150 feet. We're going to see some crazy putts. It changes the strategy a bunch, of course. If your opponent is parked for birdie and you're 75 feet away, in a stroke play tournament, you're laying up. In a match play tournament, you're slinging it towards the basket. So we could see some fireworks, and I'm sure the players are going to be having fun with it. It's going to be a good time. And, again, get your picks in, upshot@ultiworld.com, email us, and we'll have our picks and our brackets up on the website that you can check that out. Subscribers, go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe, and you got a chance to win a 3-disc Ultiworld stamped Discmania pack. Alrighty. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at a little over-under action and get inside the circle. So stay with us. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. If you're following their social media channels, you probably saw their latest drops. They got the new Sextathorpe bags out and this beautiful black, white, and red Kona Panis designed Octathorpe. So if you want to get your own, make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook, Pound Disc Golf, in order to see when the drops are happening and get your hands on a pound bag. Welcome back to the Upshot. Joining us now is Andrew Marwede, who has been on an absolute tear, 5 straight National Tour level Elite Series events in a row between the NTs and the Disc Golf Pro Tour, in which he has finished inside the top 10. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, what a beautiful setting we have for your interview here today. Where are you right now?
I'm a little bit around Midland, Michigan. I'm here for the Michigan State Championships this weekend.
Are you the defending champ?
Yep, I won last year. It was a B tier last year, and this is the first year it's been an A tier, so really excited for it.
Nice. Very good. So, I think the answer is obvious, but I want to ask you, is this the best stretch of disc golf of your career that you've been playing this last few weeks?
If by stretch you mean like for over a month, then yeah, definitely it is.
Yeah. I guess how do you determine what a stretch is?
Sure, yeah.
So, I know you've had some top 5, top 10, top 5 finishes, top 3 finishes at Elite Series events in the past couple of seasons since you've been on tour. But this is really the first time it feels like you've really had it just locked in. What has put you into this rhythm where you've been able to play this well this many weeks in a row? The kind of consistency that honestly we typically only see from the 1050 guys.
I think a lot of it has to do with the courses that we're playing. I think I have like one of like the best like 300, maybe a little bit more 300-foot sidearm shots, and that's very useful with the last 5 courses we've been playing. It actually allows me to score very well. Unlike like the West Coast, where I mean, it's good to have, but it's not really going to get you those birdies on birdies and stuff like that. And then my putting practice has been really paid off. I don't think I missed a circle one putt in the last like 8 tournament rounds. So been able to put all my sidearms close and make all my putts. And when you have that going for you, it's pretty hard to not do well, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we were talking on our show on Tuesday about how you've accumulated like over 80% of your Pro Tour points in the last like 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really try to figure out the math. Were you on the outside looking in to the top 32 before, I guess Ledgestone?
Yeah.
And then you've, catapulted yourself all the way up the leaderboard?
For sure, yeah. So I think about 5 weeks ago, like right before the preserve, I think I was in like maybe high 40s, 50th place. And I was like, East Coast swings coming up. It's always my favorite few tournaments of the year, maybe get a few top 20s, and I'll be hopefully at the 32 range. But then, sorry. So I had a couple good finishes and I was like right on the edge. And then right before last tournament, I was sitting in like 22nd, and it's like, well, so I'm pretty much hopefully a shoe in to get the top 32, and with a good finish, I actually jumped up to 14th. So I got an actual first round bye going into the Pro Tour Championship. So definitely jumped up a lot of spots over the last 5 weeks.
That's amazing. Has this run you've been on like changed anything about how you think about disc golf in the future, or like how things have been going with, I don't know, your sponsor or social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten like a lot more like followers and stuff, and obviously people like kind of like know who I am more now. But it's been nice, like actually like trying to contend for the win. I think probably only 2 times before this last 5 weeks I actually like thought I had a chance to win. Obviously it never happened. It's pretty hard to win a Pro Tour, but the last 5 weeks in a row, there was always a chance that I could win. Finishing the top, I think 4 top 5s and 1 top being the top 10. So it's nice to actually have a chance to, come out with the victory.
So, are you bummed you're missing out on this Match Play Championship, or are you more excited to try to defend your Michigan State title?
It was kind of like a win-lose situation. It's like not a big deal. But yeah, you had to be in the top 16 prior to, I forget which tournament, but I think I was just outside that. And then now being in the top 16, it would have been kind of cool. I like those match play scenarios. I'm always a big fan of that putting invitational they do over the winter, where it's one-on-one match play. So definitely would have been cool, but I am excited to be home after a long 7 weeks on tour. And I love these courses here in Michigan, and I definitely want to win this A tier and bring home the Michigan State Championship title.
Sweet. Well, you mentioned that your 300-foot forehand being a real weapon for you. What would you describe as some of your other strengths and then weaknesses of your game?
Yeah, so that's definitely like my number one strength. I'd say I love throwing the Sexton Farweed and the new Marwede Tour Series Firebird. But my other strength is definitely my putting. I think I finished like 91% Circle 1X, which I think was maybe like second on tour or something like that. But I've been a pretty good putter for the last 2 or 3 years. I've put in a lot of work, so it's one of my best strengths. Is if I'm in Circle 1, I expect to make it. Circle 2 wasn't as good this year, but still pretty decent. But my putting definitely has saved me a lot of strokes, and obviously gotten me a lot of birdies as well. So forehand and putting are my 2 definite strengths, and then I'd say like my weakness is probably my backhand power. So like that's usually why I don't generally do that good out west. Still decent, obviously, but I don't quite have that 550-foot power that those top 5-10 guys have that can really help them score that well. So that's definitely the main thing I'll be working on this offseason is distance.
Does it frustrate you as a player to have a long stretch of the tour at the beginning of the season be on courses where you don't feel as competitive? Like, I could see it being kind of annoying to, you miss out on the Match Play Championship, mostly because of the sequencing of the tour and when they had the cutoff right after Idlewild for top 16. Would you like to see a more sort of like balance between sort of the open bomber golf style courses and the wooded courses? Or is that just a natural result of the geography of the United States?
It's just kind of a natural result. It's like obviously they do have woods courses out west. I'm exaggerating, but I've definitely always been a woods player. Just where I feel at home being in Michigan, that's the type of courses we have. So that's what I've been practicing all the years I've been playing. But there are definitely woods courses out west, and not really making excuses. I just need to play better out there. But it is definitely tougher to execute my game plans and try to actually strive for the top out there. But nothing really you can do besides practice in the off season and try to get better at those skills.
What do you think the best way to improve power is, backhand power? Like, what are you going to do this off season to try to get better at that?
Well, I've definitely asked a few guys that throw really far, and obviously besides perfect form, a lot of them just say it's a pretty obvious answer, but literally just go to a field, try to throw as far as you can, and don't even worry about where the disc goes, and until you feel yourself consistently throwing as far as you want, then obviously accuracy will come with repetitions. But that's something I try to do when I do a field work, because I always try to aim and act like the real shots, but just go out there and try to throw as far as you can no matter what. So just doing that in an insane amount of times hopefully will pay off.
Yeah. What are some of your goals as a player?
Well, I'd say previously they've always just been place in the top 5, because usually I'm a realist. So if I were to say win a pro tour, it's pretty hard to do. But now that I feel like I've been in contention, I would say it would be to win a pro tour or a national tour, just any elite series. And I guess that is the ultimate goal.
How do you feel like you stack up at these upcoming events? I assume you're going to be going to USDGC and the Pro Tour Championship.
Yeah, so I'm actually back home in Michigan for 3 weeks, and my next two are USDGC and then the Pro Tour Championship. So luckily for me, those are two of my favorite courses. Obviously, USDGC has been known for being very lefty backhand, righty forehand friendly. I've done really well there in the past. I think the last 2 years, both times I only have had one really bad round, which set me back, and 3 great rounds. So I just need to try to play consistent like I have been, and actually come together with 4 straight rounds. Hopefully, make a push at winning or even just placing well. And then for the Pro Tour Championship in North Carolina, what's that course called? I forgot.
Hornets Nest.
Hornets Nest. Yep. That's super wooded course. One of my favorites as well. It was one of those things where I was shredding it in practice, and I get to the tournament and just pour everything, which is still a good round, but you got to shoot 1050 if you want to advance to the next round there. So definitely super excited for those 2 next events.
How's life on the road been this year? What's your touring strategy? You got a van or something?
Yeah, so I recently bought a van back in February. I didn't quite finish it, so that was kind of frustrating to head out on tour with an incomplete van, but it's been sufficient enough, and it's been great. I got a buddy back in Michigan who's going to finish it up and make it look pretty sweet this winter. So next year it'll be good to go. But it's been pretty awesome. I definitely love touring. It's what I've been doing the last 3 years, and really can't complain, honestly.
Awesome. Well, okay. So, you says you like match play. Give us your takes for this upcoming Match Play Championship. You'll be, watching on DGN with the rest of us. Well, who do you think's gonna take it down? Any upset potential out there?
I wish I had the bracket on me. I wish I could tell. I did fill out a bracket. I don't remember who I had winning. But not only am I a player of disc golf, I'm also a fan of disc golf. So I'll definitely be watching. I'm not sure if I'm technically rooting for anybody, but I'm definitely excited to watch some good golf, and I'll probably be on the tee pad playing my tournament, possibly watching some Disc Golf Network.
Right. Fun. All right. Well, what are some of the other things that you like to do when you're not playing disc golf? You got some hobbies that you get into while you're out there on the road?
So like, yeah, so like being a disc golf player, obviously it's my job. Obviously it's my number one hobby as well. It's what I love doing. But besides that, I'm a big fan of basketball. Obviously a lot of people know that I played collegiate basketball. The last 2 years, I was assistant coach for the basketball team I played at in college. So I love basketball, playing it, coaching it, everything with it. And then besides for that, honestly, I like playing Clash of Clans on my phone. Waste some time, on tour. So I don't know, just those couple things.
Who's your? You got an NBA team that you root for? You Pistons fan?
The
Okay.
Pistons.
They're on the upswing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
they have some exciting young players.
We got Cade right. Though.
I'm a Knicks fan, Cade, so look. I mean, I feel your pain. For sure. Awesome. Who would you consider? I feel like this keeps coming up. Who would you consider if you played a basketball with all the players on tour? Who would be your biggest competition?
I don't really know. I know, Big Germ, he's known to being a good basketball player. I've never actually seen him play though. And, you always hear Yuli talking about how good he is. I'm not actually sure about that either. I'm sure he's great. But I recently discovered that Connor O'Reilly played basketball too. I'm not sure at what level, but I'd say probably either Connor or Big Germ. But I think I got him.
We got to get a one-on-one tournament between you and Connor, because Connor was like a pretty serious basketball player. I think his brother plays professionally in Europe, so I think he's pretty darn good. It'd be fun to see.
That would be fun. I'd be down for that.
Awesome. All right. Well, any thoughts on the tour in general? Just how things have been going. The emergence of the Pro Tour as like a very serious outlet for professional disc golf over these last couple of years. The media coverage. I'm just curious for your general thoughts on how things are going in your industry.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the Pro Tour. They've been doing amazing things. It seems like every single year they've been doing above and beyond, especially with the exponential growth of disc golf happening. They're keeping up. They're keeping up with all the coverage, providing all the tournaments to be able to be watched to fans out there across the world. So they're doing great. I absolutely love playing on the Pro Tour. They really do care about the players. So it is a great organization to be a part of.
What happened to you at Worlds? I mean, you had kind of a rough Worlds, and then you've had this amazing stretch since then. Really, what happened at Worlds?
Yeah, Worlds was tough. Honestly, I don't know. The Mulligans was tough. It was rather windy. When I practiced, it wasn't. I found myself a lot of out of bounds. I was there a week early to practice, so I felt like I was adjusted to the elevation, but everything being so stable, I really like my forehands to, I have Sexton Firebirds that I've been in my bag for 5 years, so I got some flippy Firebirds, and I'm used to hyzer flipping everything, and it wasn't quite doing that for me, but I'm not really sure. Nothing really for an excuse, but just a bad week at an unfortunate time. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, good luck this weekend, and thanks so much for coming on. Great to talk with you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Andrew Marwede, one of the hottest, if not the hottest players on tour right now. Got the USDGC and Pro Tour Championships coming up. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Upshot. It's time to go inside the circle. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, Charlie, we had a couple of big events this past week that we got to cover. First off, over in the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters Championship, there was some excitement, both in the Pro Masters Women 40+ and the Pro Masters 40+ for men. Over on the women's side, Jennifer Allen goes to a playoff against Des Redding and then throws in from over 120 feet away in order to win the playoff and take home that championship. So congratulations to Jennifer Allen.
So sick. So sick.
Such a cool finish. Go find the video if you haven't yet. It's crazy. Over in Pro Masters 40+ for the the men's, Brad Schick beats David Feldberg with a 35-foot putt to avoid the playoff on the 18th green. I mean, that's the way that those kind of championships should finish, with that kind of excitement, that kind of drama. And beating Dave Feldberg is always an exciting event. So congratulations to Brad Schick as well.
When do we start getting live coverage of the Masters Tour?
I'm ready for it. After this weekend, I especially want some.
What a sick finish for Jen Allen. Crazy shot. And like Redding had thrown in on the same hole from a very similar spot in I think the final round to like kind of spark a run that ended up pushing her into the playoff. And then Jen Allen did the same thing to win it in the playoff. Really quick, I just want to shout out all of the other champs. Pro Masters 50 plus, Patrick Brown beats out Barry Schultz. Barrett White wins in Pro Masters Women over Nova Polite. Pro Masters 55 plus, Doug Williams gets the win. Peggy Berry winning in Pro Masters Women 55. Masters 60, Eric Rainey. Donna Greast wins Women's 60 plus. 65 plus, Randy Beers. Lori Clois Chupa in Women's 65. There's so many divisions, it's incredible. Dr. Rick Vokes, don't forget the doctor. Dr. Rick Vokes wins in 70 plus. Pete May wins in 75 plus, a 2-stroke win. Wow. And then we have the amateur divisions. Amateur 40 plus, Scott Hauska, dominant victory. Meg Sapp wins in women's. 50 plus, Sam Dodd. Masters women's 50, Debbie Polkinghorn. I love that last name. 55, James Elkins. 60, Joe Yeagers. 60, women's, Sue Landit, uncontested. 65, Don Altmaier. Carrie Rivera in the women's side, and then Donald Parker winning AM Masters 70 plus. So congratulations to all the champions.
Kind of crazy to look over at the PDGA number and see Mark Horn in the Pro Masters 70 plus at 67.
I love it.
I stopped and I was like, wait, that's got to be a typo. Nope. Welcome to the Masters Championship. Next, inside the circle, Bobby Brown, longtime media director of Dynamic Discs, has announced that he's leaving the company due to personal reasons. Bobby Brown is the host of the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast, and he has an episode that talks a little bit about his decision to leave and the reasons why. So go check that out. I mean, it's always hard to see a longtime media person who's been so influential in a big part of the sport like that leave. But we're definitely wishing Bobby Brown the best in his future endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a big part of the reason Dynamic has had such a sort of like dominant social media presence relative to other manufacturers. And I mean, he really bears his soul a little bit in the podcast talking about why he's leaving. I mean, it doesn't really seem like he wants to leave. He was trying to find a way to work remotely, and it sounds like it didn't work out, but wanted to spend more time with his family. So, shout out to a fellow podcast host, and Bobby, we hope you enjoy your move towards your family and start another podcast.
Final point inside the circle. And for those of you who are fans of good disc golf, this news is going to make you so excited. We've previously talked in Inside the Circle about Lucas Rokinen and Vaino Makala coming over to play USDGC and a couple other events. We've also have, though, Albert Tom, Silverlot, and then on the Throw Pink Championship, Anakin Steen, and who was 5th at the Euro Disc Golf Championship. But here it is. The most exciting point. Kristen Tatar is coming to the Throw Pink Championship. She's coming back. It's announced on her Instagram. It's happening.
She's trying to get that ring. I'm excited. How cool that they're going to be able to make this trip happen again. And hopefully with a little bit less of a annoying travel circumstances. And so, yeah, a good handful of Europeans, a few more Europeans coming over to play these final stretch of events. So that's great to see, and a harbinger, hopefully, of better things to come in 2022.
One side note, you have to imagine that this decision is at least in part possible thanks to the, $40,000 that Tatar earned during her stay here in the United States over those 6 events. Like, at first it probably was, I'm going to come do the one trip and that'll be it. But she earned more than enough to finance a second trip back. And so,
yeah,
I don't know.
And she wants to compete,
Yeah. and I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I cannot wait for her to be back.
Just as it added a lot to the Worlds and that stretch of the tour, it's going to add a lot to have her there at the Throw Pink Championship playing in Rock Hill. No question. Is that it for Inside the Circle?
That's it for Inside the Circle.
All right, let's take a look at our over-under picks. Last week, it was over-under at the best round at Brewster Ridge being an 11.5. I took the over. I said it would be better than that, and it played out that way. Chris Dickerson shot a 13, and somebody shot a 12.
Gannon Burr.
Gannon Burr. Wow.
Yeah.
That kid is so good. Gannon Burr shoots a 12. So 2 rounds make the cut, and I get the win. It puts me back in front in our over-under picks contest. And, our 14-year $1 million payout bet is in the books after Tuesday's show. So over-under this week for you, Josh. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready for it.
Over-under 5.5 matches in the Match Play Championship that go to overtime because they're tied after 12. This is total. And there are 22 total matches.
So 6 puts it roughly just under a quarter of all the matches going to overtime. I'm going to take the over.
Wow.
I think there's enough players, and I don't think many of them might happen in round 1, but I think when we start getting to round 2 and 3, we're going to start seeing. But then I'm already just kidding. I'm taking the under. I'm flipping. I'm taking the under.
It must be a good number, folks. Okay. All right. I get the over. I'm rooting for the over. I'll tell you that much. I want to see a lot of exciting rounds. I think it's more likely to happen given that it's 12 holes instead of 18.
I agree with that as well.
So
I think the hard part about it, there's a lot of MPO matches that feel a little bit mismatched. There's a couple that look real good, but I think that
we're not playing 4 rounds of stroke play, Josh.
I know. You
just got to catch the lightning in a bottle, hit a couple big shots. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yep. I guess we'll see.
All right.
Over to GMC picks real quick.
Oh, sure.
Covering those points. What a bad week for us in MPO, Charlie. You had Ricky in your top 5, and I had nobody in my top 5 from the finishes.
Give us your top 5.
I had Eagle, Calvin, Adam, Matt Oram, and Kyle Klein.
It's hard to take issue with those picks, but you went.
I think I had 6th, and both guys tied for 7th.
I want to propose, not for this week, but for the future. If you go over in a category, you get -5 points.
Glad it didn't happen this week.
I mean, it would be unfair to retroactively punish you.
I'm willing to accept it moving forward, though.
Okay,
I'll accept that penalty.
If you get bageled, then you have to take -5. The same way you get a bonus 5 for picking the winner.
Right.
We have a bonus for picking them all. But if you go over, you lose 5 points. That's the only time it's happened this whole season.
Then I had the 6th and both 7th place guys.
Right.
It's not like I was too far off.
No.
But
a lot of my picks were like inside the top 10, but not the top 5.
Yep.
So I get a point there, but you picked Haley King.
That's right, I did.
And so you get the 5-point bonus. We both picked 4 correct in FPO out of the 5. So you pick up 5 points on me, and the total score is now what?
I pick up 4 points on you. So it's 9-5
That's right.
because I had the no MPO. So 9-5 for the week, bringing total scores. You're at 59. I'm at 54.
Okay.
Again,
10
if
points
you win this bracket,
this is a big bonus this week.
Do we want to do a pick the winner bonus?
I think you still get a. I think you still get a 5-point bonus for picking the winner.
Okay, for both MPO and FPO.
Yes.
I've got King and Wysocki. You have Heimberg and Pierce. 5-point bonus on the line with 10 points for the best bracket.
There it is.
Okay.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's show. Make sure to join us for our subscriber bonus segment. We're going to rank the tournaments in order of importance in our mind for the end of the season. And we're going to talk about end of the season and how maybe it could be done better in the future. Like, is this the optimal finishing stretch for disc golf? It's definitely a lot of exciting events, but it feels like pretty crowded. And so maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not. We're going to talk about it in our subscriber bonus segment. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. And remember, if you subscribe and your bracket's the best amongst the subscribers, you're going to win yourself a 3-pack of UltiWorld stamped discs. So that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time right here on The Upshot.